good to be here.
Yeah, a lot of things changed, man. I mean, it's been almost what, a year and a month, a year and 2 months since we
Yeah.
talked.
Yep. Yeah, my life's changed drastically in that last 13 months. It's been crazy.
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
complete
wild.
different man.
Right. You just had a baby. Everybody, hi, slightly slanted. Steve joined today with Aaron Price. With your channel is called Australian School of Esoterica, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
handle you used to go. I don't know if you're even grooming your channel anymore, but why don't you
Uh,
give us a little synopsis or a little breakdown of who you are today in this world and what you see yourself as?
yeah. Okay. So, I don't know. I change too often. I change every 6 months. I change, shed new skin, and become a different person. So I'm still the same, into the same stuff. Still heavy into mysticism and the tarot and archetypes and stuff like that. But I suppose my focus these days has shifted a little bit more into sort of getting it all together, getting the mind body spirit complex together. So I've been training hard and been eating good, and trying to kick all of the emotional habits that I've formed over the years and all of the vices to sort of take the mysticism to the next level. And since I've been eating good and training at the gym every day and running and everything, it's just gone to a new
Wait a
level.
minute, back up. I thought you were out in the middle of the bush. There's a gym
Yep.
around there?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just kidding.
Yep. 3:30 every morning, get up 3 hours every day. So just because I'm trying to take that mysticism to the next level and take manifestation to the next level. I find that the fitter and healthier I am in the body and the mind, the spirit's able to do some incredible things, when you've got everything in harmony. So I'm just pushing to sort of get that balance this year. That's my focus for 2021, is to find that balance and then start stepping into some wilder archetypes and going a bit harder.
Right. I think the last time we talked, you had said something about maybe exploring a. What was your wording? I don't want to misquote you, but on. Oh, hang on. You'll get a kick out of this, dude.
I've got our house is full of them, so I'm in the healing room at the moment.
Nice.
I don't know, but we've got plenty of different bowls.
That one's a 4. Wow, you got a bunch of. What are those ones called? Those big ones again?
They're Tibetan bowls.
Tibetan bowls, but
yeah,
that's what this is called too, though, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna turn my filter out so I can actually.
Yeah, they do good for you. So, my wife's fully into crystal bowls and alternative therapy, so they're always being used.
Yeah. Now, when we last talked, you had spoke on something on exploring maybe turning your esoteric seeking and astral projecting into some sort of business, or not business, but way of
like a system.
Yeah.
So that's sort of taken a back seat at the moment, because the archetypes and the tarot is what I've immersed myself in, in the last probably year, like assumptions of God forms and like archetypes, doing the hero's journey. So I did the hero's journey and found I lost my cushy job and I was thrust out.
Really?
Into the nothing, yeah, because I was in an import job and because of COVID, everything shut down in China.
Oh, wow.
So travel and liaison all cut down. So, so I was thrust into nothingness and, had to.
That's interesting.
So, I've gone from having my own business to working for someone else to now not working at all. So now I'm retired and just manifesting life as I go. So that's been since August and I'm still alive. and we haven't been kicked out of our property yet. So I think I'm doing all right.
What do you mean yet?
Well,
There's not a threat of that happening, right?
Sarcastic. It won't happen.
Well,
won't happen.
I want you to at least come to me and ask me for advice of something like that, because, you know, dude, I'd be there in a minute to help you.
Yeah, man, for sure. So it's a wild journey, the hero's journey. So it's just basically, I'm just taking my chances. Everything I get, I'm just going into discomfort and taking my chances and seeing what happens.
You're just being, right?
Yeah, and it's a struggle. You move in and out of different frequencies, and some days, you know, you're creating nothing but chaos for yourself, and other days you're just, you know, creating complete abundance. So it's good. I'm on a good run at the moment. I've been on a little run where I'm trying to create a manifestation every day and make it better and better. So at the moment for me, I'm focused on particularly money as far as manifestation, and also health of myself and of other people. So that they're my main manifestations. So because obviously not having a job now and being retired, money's something that I sort of have to manifest to keep the dream going. So
hang on, I want to say something to calm you down. I can sense you're excited or you're nervous, and I've never sensed this in you before, and it's probably because you haven't been on a podcast for a while, right? But
it's been a while.
Calm down, brother, man. Be yourself, man, because I love you.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
But I can sense it, and I never sensed it before.
You know, I hate talking about myself and what I'm doing and wrapping myself up. You know, it's not.
Oh, right. Oh, that's why you're apprehensive. I got you. That's
it's I'm pretty private at what I do, and like the little games I'm playing in life and stuff like that. You know, mm-hmm. So it's weird.
Oh yeah, I was unaware you had a posh job, by the way.
What's that? Sorry.
I was unaware that you had a cush job before that, but I was aware that you could do what you want when you wanted. But I mean, I thought you were out there hustling and, you know, really working your ass off.
Yeah. So I was until I quit all that and decided to try out a cushy job for a while, but then it didn't turn out, and here we are, my man.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. We're done. I'm done pushing you on that. So in essence, what you're saying is, well, I'm going to lay a little groundwork here, everybody. The last time, Aaron and I did probably 4 or 5 shows about the future back in, what was it, 2019? We started talking about it New Year's Eve 2019, right? When you and I, we at the same time came across the date and that cross conjunction thing, right?
Yep.
And we just so many pieces fell in line for us right there, but we couldn't put our finger on what was coming. Right? We both knew something was coming.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
And things always continue to come, man. That's the game. That things don't stop.
But I mean, the big one was, you know, I found it just huge in my paradigm that. I mean, everything was lining up on like that Godhead symbol that I was looking at, you know. And so what's your opinion on all of that? And I want you to tell us a little bit about what life's like on your island right now.
Yeah, so here in Australia, it's crazy as we don't have any coronavirus at all. We haven't had any for months. So a couple of states had a couple of outbreaks and they locked right down, but I've been pretty thankful. So no lockdowns. It's all free to go. No masks. You know, people have forgotten about social distancing and stuff like that now because it's just not a thing anymore. So I'm living in a bubble. So thankful for it because I see what's happening over in the US. You know, it's not just the coronavirus. It's absolutely everything else.
Dude.
Everything is.
What do you think that is? What's your opinion on the whole cancel culture and all of it?
You know, there's so many different things that are in play, and there's so many plans and so many factions, and so there's so much trying to be done at once. I think it's just the epitome of chaos, and I think that whatever forces are controlling the main narrative, I think they've got the Western world exactly where they want them. They're riding chaos, so you know, out of chaos comes order. I think It's, man, it's a crazy world at the moment. I can't, if you asked me 12 months ago, would it be like this? I would have said, I don't think so.
Knowing that in a day-to-day life, you don't propagate and spread that and create it by adding to it, right? You know what I mean by
correct. Yeah, exactly right. So there's no negative frequencies bringing me down where I am. I'm free to go about my life, and I think that's half of the issue with COVID is not the virus itself, but the psychological things that come with it, and keeping people down and unable to manifest what they truly want because they're not in the right frequency. It sounds pretty cliche, but that's how it is in a nutshell. So
I'm just the biggest binding force on us?
Yeah, I don't
fear,
think,
right? I mean, fear.
Yeah, and I think that binding force is just a force of nature. It's just it's just an outcome of the paradigm that's been presented. So I don't think that is anything in particularly nefarious. I think that's just an outcome of the social paradigm, and that's nature expressing itself. And
it's also called what? Entropy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But weird, man. It's crazy world, and my heart goes out to everyone over where you are, because
I just felt you feeling that, because man, I just got the goosebumps, brother, before you even said a word.
Man, it's crazy. I'm so thankful for being in this little bubble that I'm in, so I can continue doing what I've been doing. So there's so many people on a path like me because they're stuck in the situation that they're stuck in where they are because of lockdowns and all these other things. They're sort of stuck.
Not as bad as you may think in as far as that goes. It depends on how you're sitting in your head, and that's what it's all about.
Of course. But the onslaught of negativity is just intense. It's coming from every angle. So
it's grabbing me about twice a day, and I flip out, and then I get over it, and I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the micro cycle of the whole as a. Do you think our population and the human resident? Have you heard me say this yet about? What if we're all 1/1000th of a heart? That's 7.83 billion people on the planet, and the human resonance is 7.83 hertz. Do you think there's a correlation there?
Well, there's no such thing as coincidences in my eyes. So there's something there. It's just how deep you're willing to go to find a definite answer. But
and then you find the answer, then what? Right?
That's it. So for me, I see that correlation. Interesting.
Yeah. And that's why I love you, man, because I just had this deep conversation with somebody on another channel, and she means, she says everything you just said, but lets it get in the reciprocating, the hysteresis loop, or the continuous feedback. And why don't you talk a little bit about that? What you think that is, how that feeds the system?
In what context? What do you mean?
Like as our energy flows where our thoughts go, or our energy flows where thoughts go, or where, I don't know how it's the exact max or axiom where, but
that's exactly right though, isn't it? That the energy flows where your thoughts go, because I'm sold in all the stuff that I've done over the years that everything is the mind, as the old Hermetic axiom. I think that everything is a mind, and everything is the grand mind. And that's the way I see that, as everything. So, when you get caught in feedback loops, it's self-destructive. It's like being caught in the middle of a hurricane, isn't it?
Yeah, unless you're in the middle, in the center, where it's the calmest and it's still, and that's where we all need to go. Isn't that weird too? I just had that wow. Right.
Yeah, and that's the hero's archetype. You know what I mean? It's stepping into the hurricane, fighting through the hard stuff, and realizing,
dude, you're giving me goosebumps, brother. And
there's just a little bit in the middle that you can stand in, but then no matter which way you decide to go, you've got to go back through that hurricane. It's just like,
it's just stay in the center, and you just let that hurricane go on around you.
Yeah, you can, but what's the fun in that?
Right. I think that's why we stepped back into the hurricane, right? From where we were.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I reckon that's the best analogy for the hero's
Dude,
archetype.
you said something to me about 4 years ago, and I was like, okay, quit blowing smoke up my skirt. You said something to me, and it was, I think Jerry was on the panel. We were talking, and you said, Steve, I really think this is the place that people are gonna find the truth, and I'm not just saying that. And dude, that spurred me on for until to this day, dude. And I wanna say thank you for that, man.
Well, man, when you ask the right questions, then you're always going to get to the truth eventually. So,
right, and
I've seen how you question reality and question what everything's about. So, you're eventually going to find truths, aren't you, when you operate like that?
That's why I put my hooks into you, because I seen you on. I ran across you on a Facebook group, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
and
yeah, maybe, yeah.
You said something or commented on something, and I was like, wait a minute. And I backed up and I went into this long, drawn out comment where most people just shut me down and say, shut up, you're retarded. You were like, came back at me like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember it was about the M42 star cluster. I remember.
Orion Nebula.
Yep, it was.
And the trapezium open star cluster, yes.
I remember you were talking about it, and it clicked to me, because when back maybe 15 years ago, when I was doing mystery schools and stuff, my mystery school teacher talked about M42 and about it being the seed of the universe, and how ISIS is aligned with it. So when you were talking about that, I'd never heard anyone else ever speak about the M42 cluster before.
Wow,
and that's why I stopped, and I was like, who is this guy? What does he know about it? Because my mystery school teacher was pretty blasé about it. He just kind of said it and then just left it at that. He didn't expand on it at all. So
like he was planting a seed that would
that's it. And I recognized the seed when I saw the comment, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's wild, dude.
Yeah,
and crazy, that's how I came to that information, was through Danny Wilton, and I was looking for the information in Black Hole Sun song. I thought it was Kurt Cobain who sang it, but it was actually another guy that allegedly killed himself. Right.
Yeah.
And That's how I came to that M42 stuff, and I've been trying to look him up, Danny Wilton, and I can't find him. But I mean, he's changed his YouTube handle, and he's kind of. But I mean, he like disappeared. Like he got to this point probably where you got to, and when you went back into the woods.
Yeah.
Explain that because you made a deliberate move to do what you're doing here.
Yeah, of course. So it's always been my plan to sort of get into nature, and because that's what I am at my core. As a mystic, that's what mystics are all about. They're all about studying nature. It's it's not about books. It's not about doing spells, and it's about having a relationship with nature and understanding how you can use all the aspects of nature like tools. That's all it's about. So I figure the deeper you are in nature, the more tools you have at your disposal, and the more you can manifest. So that was always my aim, and I'm sort of just turning the corner now and getting right into it, getting into a real good frequency, and just sort of starting to knock down the dominoes, find out what the truth is.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think that truth is? I mean, do you know where I'm coming from? And I met Phil. Have you seen any of Yvonne Gordon's information from the Bible perspective?
I have. Yeah.
What do you think of her perspective? You like that?
Yeah, she's great. She's got a great perspective. She's such a motherly archetype, isn't she? She's so like calm and warm. And I've listened to a few of her things. So the Bible is always something that I've stayed away from, because obviously I've been in the esoteric game for a long time, so I've dabbled into the Bible, but it doesn't really serve, I've got to the point now where I just don't associate with things that don't serve me purposes. Like conspiracy theory, I guess, is one thing, and various things that come up in esoteric chit chat, you know, that I sort of I just don't bother with anymore, because it's not, I can recognize that that's not my path. You know, that I think that's the most important thing when you're on the life journey, is recognizing what your path is and what your path isn't. Because if you don't follow your path, then you're screwed.
Well, you're what is it? The saying? How does this saying go? Those that are lost cannot find a straight path. Those that go astray. I'm gonna have to look it up. But yeah, I'll probably just look at that right here, dude, right in front of me. As usual.
Emerald tablets.
Always, dude.
It's been so long for me. So from the last time we were chatting, I was so deep into reading. Like I was reading 2 or 3 books a week and getting so deep into it. And
I've never done that.
the emerald tablets, and you know, but now I haven't actually read a book in probably just over 12 months.
Wow. That's a long time for somebody that's a bookworm like you.
Yeah, and no medicine, you know, no external healing or suppression, and no external learning, making sure that all of my learning is internal by watching nature and building relationships with plants and animals and people as well. You know, that's what I think it's all about. I think all the rest is noise.
Everything is noise.
So if you can filter out all the noise and get just down to the basics of, you know, being a comrade of nature, people and animals, even minerals and rocks. You know, that's something I've moved into, is trying
really?
to So
trying to figure out the rhythm of it, are you?
Yeah, trying to get into that frequency to find out, you know,
because on the 7 it's the 4, right? The mineral.
Yep. And also healing the land is another thing that I've been focusing on, teaching myself how to heal the land. So where I am, it's really traumatized, the land. So when it dries up, the ground starts cracking, and there's not much nutrient in the soil, because it's been drought for the last 5 or 6 years. You know, there's just nothing left. So focusing on learning how to get into the frequency of the land and healing the land. You know, like all the tribes across the world, they all know that they, you know, how to heal the land and make sure they're getting that land through that replenishment cycle. So right. I've been learning that too. You know,
well, that's like, you know, Matrix is a womb, the earth is a womb. I mean, the earth is the mother, you know, and the Matrix is her womb. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how every indigenous culture thought the earth was their mother, right?
Yeah. Yep. As far as I'm aware, or the sun was their father.
Right. Oh, yeah. I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Do you know it's colder in the moonlight than the moonshade?
No, I didn't know that.
Dude. Like noticeably colder. You take a thermal camera, and the moonlight, it's colder than the moonshade. And I came across a quote today by Ramana Maharshi. He's a Tamil. You know who that is, right?
No, I don't.
He's the one. He's the one who's about how you transcend the subjective but objective relationship between yourself and you think God is some external thing, or you know, because it's all one in all of us, because we are the center of each, you know. And I'd like to expand on how far I've come, because you look like you sound like you've done full circle too, because last time we talked, you were into the want to do a magic thing, and you were trying to manipulate. What were you exactly doing? You were archetype of. Explain what you're doing.
Everything. So probably the last time we talked is when I was deep into working out what magic was all about. You know, so I wasn't so much obsessed with magic, but trying to find what the main drivers of magic were, so without going through all the bullshit of ceremony and, having archetypal tools and stuff like that, what are the base mechanisms in nature that create that change that comes from ritual, so that was the main thing. So that's where I'm at now with manifestation, is I kind of just use that willpower aspect, because that's really all it is, at the base level, and finding out the frequency of the thing that I want to attract, and sending out my thought and my feeling to that frequency, and then getting something in return, because everything's a feedback loop. Everything that you give, you receive, and everything that you receive, you give. So to make sure that you're getting back when you give, you just got to make sure that you're lowering or hiring yourself to that right frequency, so that the feedback, comes back at the right frequency, if you get what I mean. So this is where a lot of people go wrong, is they give away at such a high frequency, and then it reflects back to them at such a low frequency, because they're such higher frequency than the thing that they're projecting to, and the feedback that they get is a lower frequency, and it brings their frequency down, and that's what I noticed a lot of people get wrong. So I thought, well, that's the key, is making sure that you're focusing in on that frequency, projecting to that frequency, and making sure that you're staying within that frequency, so that when you get it back, it's exactly what you want.
Now, you just said frequency about 300 times. Now, could you maybe make that a little simpler? What are you calling a frequency, or what are you, a certain thought pattern, a certain reward
like
system?
a thought oscillation would be the best way to describe it. When you're
like when Thoughts in the Emerald Tablets talks about vibrating, right?
Yep. So and everything vibrates on a spectrum. It's just about finding whereabouts. Yep, that's it. And you just find whereabouts on the spectrum that thing vibrates and point towards.
Unless it's dead or it's true spirit, right? Because true spirit is the stillest nothingness of everything, right?
I would say that true spirit is the stillest of everything and the most chaotic of everything at the same time.
Wow, that's wild.
That's what I would say. I would say that just
the
like
yin and the yang.
Yep, and it's like the title. The funny thing that you put up the title about the soul and what is the soul, and me and the wife have been having this discussion, because she's been doing a lot of mediumship, so it's a lot of working with spirit, and we've had a lot of discussions of what exactly spirit is, and what the soul is, and how we think it all works, and how they all intertwine. And the theory that we've come up with is that the soul is like a tool for the spirit. So the spirit is unmanifest and manifest at the same time, and the soul is the tool that the spirit uses to manifest itself on the planes of existence.
Oh, that's exactly what it is, bro. And it's the same triune of God of the Bible, dude. It's the light. Yeah, wow. That was beautiful how you just worded it, though.
And it's like, so that's the whole thing about the Holy Trinity, right? So when you're looking after your body, your mind, and your spirit in the physical plane, that reflects into the higher planes of existence and the high versions of self as well. So, and
it fits right into what Bethlehem is, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I think that this is what bad food and bad programming stuff's doing to people. It's damaging the soul, and then it's disassociating from the spirit.
And that's what's causing all the entropy in our world, because chaos is ensuing because we're letting the system run amok.
Yep.
And that's just like our enmity within, with our ego in the battle we have inside, right?
Yep. Absolutely. So the question I've got for you is, the spirit is the part of us that is God and makes us one with God. So is the soul individual, or is it God? I know for the sake of conversation, it is God, because it is a fragment of God. And
everything is God. Yeah, everything is God. I knew you were going to say that.
On that level, we can agree on
that. You're talking. Do we have each an individual Akashic?
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
I do believe that. And I do. And the reason why I really believe that, and I don't say the word believe often, because in the word is the biggest lie ever. And it's right in the middle, smack dab in your face. you know, and because belief is the worst thing we could do is believe something, because when you do that, you shut the door. I don't need to say that to you, you know that, but I just want to I don't say believe a lot. And when I believe something and it's in the context of what you're talking about, it's because of it sits right with me. And it's the only reason why we would be individualized. And because in divides you all is, I mean, in every word is your answer to every question you ever had. Into every word, if you seek that answer in the word, even, you will find the answer. And I've realized that lately, like it's just incredible, dude. Across the board. And it's just amazes me. So yeah, I individual is because that's the point. It's to gather all of that different data. It's to and I'm not saying like God is some incredulous octopus trying to get his fingers on everything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, how else would you experience yourself unless you were just a blank slate ready to be filled with anything? And that's what we are, is leaves on the same tree.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. So what about manifestations of things like of polarity, like within the individual, like gender, or any aspect,
Well,
how
I'm going to say something here. Well, I'll say something to you private that's really private about what you just said there. And it'll blow your mind, dude. But it's manifestations. I've never been much of the one time I went there with you and started thinking in that way, recently, remember the Magwitch thing? And I thought that she was, nefarious, and the whole Stanley thing and all that. Remember?
Yeah.
And that was the last time I was really scared of the whole system, dude. And that was a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was because of that incident with you that it helped me pull my mind out of that thought pattern. And I realized right then and there that that's what it was just my own thoughts that were making me feel that way.
Yeah.
But recently I had a conversation with her, and I said, "What's a Magwitch?" And she told me that it means like thank you or be kind or something in some Native American language, dude. And I laughed my ass off.
But that's the thing with the thoughts. So when you're too polarized with your thoughts, in the way that you project them, you cause disharmony. That's just simple as that.
It adds to the whole system.
Yep, it does. It does. And it goes into the continuous feedback loop that seems to be in some sort of place right now where it's just everybody's feeding back bullshit into each other. That's observation is that's
why Potato Head has lost his gender and Cracker Jack defend me and right.
Like really, what has the world come to that you have to make things no gendered. I mean, I understand. Obviously, from the alchemist point of view, I understand that having the whole union of the masculine and feminine is,
dude, maybe that is nature's way of throwing it in our freaking grill, dude.
Yeah.
But I know nature just is. I understand, but what if that's the check? The way for the system to check itself.
Manifestation. That is what it is. It's the other extreme manifestation of the same thing, isn't it? It's like total disassociation with genders rather than complete association and union of genders. It's like it's the ultimate.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't even
think of that.
Opposite. And everything has its stringlet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And everything has gender. Everything has a positive and a negative. So,
everything in the physical world.
Yep. And potentially even in a lot higher planes of existence than this one, my man. So
but once you get,
I've done a lot of astral projection, and all the elements and genders and stuff are still present in the astral realm.
Those are the hounds beyond the barrier, right? Or the things that are out of phase with what is to be, right? Is what you're getting at?
well, and I think beyond the hounds of the barrier is where gender and things and polarity ceases to exist. I think the idea of the hounds of the barrier and guarding the barrier is like the edge of what we can experience. You know, because I've met the hounds of the barrier a couple of times in Ash Productions. I've told you the story before about meeting the hounds of the barrier, and you know, I think that is potentially where it stops, is at that level. But as far as we know and as far as we experience, we need to navigate that tool, you know, because it is a tool. All of the principles of nature are all tools for us to use. You know, you've manifested in this life as a man, so you have the tools of strength and resilience, and you know. And
well, why have I been crying at every drop of a hat and every thought, and I mean just bawling, dude?
Well, that doesn't mean that you're not a man because you've been bawling.
No, I know, but so I'm just asking you though. Have you been on a sort of, because I've been laughing my ass off for 2 days solid, but during these 2 days, I'll have a thought. I'll cry 3 or 4 times a day just on a whimsical thought of you know, somebody on a movie that had just gone through this little spatter, you know, a little thing, and all of a sudden I just start crying, dude. And it's not like I'm crying because I'm sad.
Yeah. It's just an emotional trigger that's creating it.
Yeah.
You know that, and that's the thing when you're on the path of the great work like you are, that's the kind of thing that happens. You know, that it happened to me probably 9 months ago. I got into a rut where I was really depressed because it was part of the journey that I was on. You know, I needed to get the right perspective, and my thoughts were controlling my reality, you know, as they always do. You just choose whether they're positive or negative,
or you choose not to recognize them, or yeah.
And you know, it's just it's an ebb and flow. It's like everything in nature, you know, the mind also ebbs and flows. You know, you can't expect to be high all the time or low all the time. You know, you oscillate between high and low, and you have to do your best to try and keep yourself as close to that line of equilibrium throughout your experience, you know, so that you live a good life, basically. You know, the further you move away from that line of equilibrium, the more chaos that ensues, and the more stuff, the more trauma that you drag into your timeline, which in turn creates even more trauma. I think,
when you say timeline, what do you mean by my timeline?
Well, you know, like you're dragging when you're going outside and you're in that chaotic space. You know, when you step out there, the thoughts and emotions and experiences that you experience while you're outside in that area of chaos, you know, they all attach to you, and then you drag them back into your place of equilibrium, and they manifest themselves as issues in our emotions. You know, that's how it happens. You know, like for example, you could go out one night and you could be drinking with your friends, right? And you could make the choice: I'll drive home drunk, or I won't drive home drunk. You can make the choice to stay within equilibrium and call a cab, or you can go into the place of chaos and drive home, right? You end up killing someone on your way home. What do? You're dragging all of that chaos from that choice back into your timeline, back into your lifeline.
That's an excellent way to, dude. That was awesome, brother. You're good at
that. That's how.
That was awesome.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, it was pretty damn good, I'll tell you that. Because that's the hardest thing to do, is to figure out how to articulate what you perceive as reality to people. And when you can make connections between everyday things like you just did, that's a gem, dude. And I appreciate
Thanks, brother.
Because that's cool.
You know, it's from years of putting theory into practice. You know me, I don't read books and go, okay, well, that's what it is. You know, I like to test reality, and
right.
I like to make sure that reality keeps on its toes.
Yeah, but I mean, we were seeing this cross alignment for a year and a half before it happened, and we didn't. Right. I mean, we were. And how did that whole situation come? Oh, because I watched the movie Star is Born. Remember?
Oh, yep. I do remember now.
I had that big, huge epiphany about what Pluto was. That's what it was. That Godhead symbol where the Ka symbol is holding the consciousness, the red sphere, you know, above its head. And it struck us as Pluto. And then I said, we got to figure out what's going on with Pluto. And I don't know how the date came up. Or no, we found the date because I did the solar system search on when there was an alignment. Yeah, you said look and see if there's a conjunction or something. And I went, no way. Yeah, that was weird, dude. How that all lined up.
See, and now I've come so much further. If we had that same conversation today, we would have taken it to a complete different level, because how much I understand about archetypes and Plutos and you know.
We did a lot of studying on what they meant, and Demeter and everything.
And Demeter and so one of the archetypes I'm using, which is pretty much the same archetype of Demeter, is Nike. So the goddess of victory. So that's a frequency that I'm tuning into to manifest money. So I'm testing by going into like little lotteries and things, and manifesting myself wins and trying to get a win every day from lotteries, and using that frequency of Nike and tuning into that to be victorious. So basically my point of view is I've got the best manifestation out of anyone else that's trying to manifest that same prize. So if I don't get it, it means someone worked harder than me. So, you know, I've just been,
that whole thing you just described right there is just like, people go to church, they don't know what they're worshiping, but if it's in a good light, they end up getting doing good. And that's what blind faith can get you in a good thing, though, right?
Yeah, it can, but blind anything.
Well, blind anything. But I mean, it's not blinding the person that's doing it, though, is what you know. You know what I mean? Of course, They have faith and they think it's real, completely real, and you know, and it is real, you know, whatever. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, and it's it is the same. It's the same thing, you know, like putting all of my faith into my ability to manifest a lottery win. Yeah, is exactly the same as people putting their faith in God to bring them a miracle,
right?
Yep. And you know, for those that are in the right frequency and believe that God will save them, no matter if the God that they believe in is real or not, God will still save them, because the frequency they're in will create that reality for them.
It'll bring the law of attraction, and it'll bring God to you, which is yourself.
And right, you know,
where you go, there you are.
A real thing, and you don't have to say, pretty please God, please bring me some money,
right?
You know, you just say, come on, it's time.
Yeah.
And you stay in that frequency and say, come on, it's time.
Well, shit, dude, they're handing out money here like it's going out of fucking style. I just got I got $11,000 free from the government, man. I'm not kidding, dude. I'm not kidding. What's really going on? Huh?
Man, that's stupid. The financial system is doomed right now.
Well, duh.
you cannot just print that amount of money and everything's hunky dory. It just does not happen.
$3 trillion a stroke of a pen. How many times now?
Yeah.
And our national debt was $30,000 or $30 trillion before all that started. You know.
So that's the thing, though. I know that all of this has come to light in the last 12 months, everything that's going on with the finances and shadow government.
It's always been out there, hasn't it?
But has anything really changed other than it hasn't, has it? It's exactly the same game.
Not a thing, dude.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, no, or play games with your emotions with Rocket Man, which was Korea, or China, or you know, some other guy, or the Islamic boogeyman, you know. Yeah. But is that our just a collective ignorance, or you know, the whole mishmash of chaos taking care of business because we're allowing it and we're feeding it? I don't think it's like you said. I don't think it's one group, or you know, there might be 2 or 3 individuals that are richer now that can control the advertising in the media, but besides that's the only control they got.
Yeah, and you're absolutely spot on. Like, it's like the old saying, control the stars or the stars will control you. And I know a little bit enough about astrology to understand what the effects are and sort of how it works on an energetic level. And
oh yeah,
and
you're talking about okay.
When you're living in a place of the hive mind, then the outside forces are going to steer you into the direction that the outside forces want to steer you in. But when you're going within, you're in control of the ship, man. And this is
nothing.
And this is the tragedy, is that that whatever plan has worked so well, the tragedy of people who just have lost control of their ship.
Well, they're caught up in the car, stars, and bars, man.
Yeah, and it's, for me, like, I just feel so much deep pain for the collective. I know individuals choose their, they choose their lives. I don't really feel for anyone that is choosing their reality in a way that is detrimental to them, but I do feel for the collective, because it's the collective consciousness that's connected to the earth and to everything else that's
why
around.
I'm crying at the drop of a hat too.
It's just so toxic. It's so toxic for the earth. We're all products of our environment, and the earth is a product of the collective consciousness. It is our good thoughts are going to heal the earth, and our bad thoughts are going to destroy it, and it's that simple. And just like a bad environment is going to kill us.
Water is the memory bank, or the blood of everything.
Yep, absolutely it is. Water is the everything. That's why you should be charging your water, Steve-O. You've got to be charging it.
Well, I've been feeding it through a Brita filter when I drink it.
Yeah. Well, that's something, at least moving the chlorides and stuff out of the water. So,
well, around here, 3M has polluted our environment around here so much that people are getting pancreatic cancer, like it's going, like they're just handing out Halloween candy. But nobody cares, because the government's giving you $1,400 per person, just, and now they're talking about giving away $300 a month for each kid you have.
So that's the old thing, that money doesn't solve problems.
I know, exactly. And it's like, so what is that saying to you people? And people they're just wondering when the next check's in the mail. They're not seeing it.
Yep. And it's poisoning to be able to see what everyone's poisonous thoughts and the collective are doing to the state of the earth at the moment, to be able to have a concept of how that works and what's happening. I'm sure it's just terrible, man. Like, I just see it and I feel it.
The barge of trash that's in the middle of the Pacific, first of all.
Yeah, and that's just one of a million issues,
right?
Right. And who's not to say that everyone's poisonous thoughts might have manifested that trash pile in the sea,
Right, exactly.
It's just, man, there needs to be a change. I think that
where do you think that change is going to happen, and what is the biggest mover in Aaron's world? I mean, if you were going to change the world, what would you do? I mean, what would you do?
All right. So, well, I have thought about this. There'll be two things that I would do. I would overhaul the schooling system, and I would overhaul the medical system, and I would overthrow the government. that the governments of the world. That would be the first thing. But it changed the way that kids are schooled, giving them a more holistic understanding. Like my son, he's just the biggest jungle gym. We let him run amok and teach him about nature, and he's got a good relationship with animals. Like, he's really empathetic.
I just had this freaking vision of Steve Irwin right now when you were talking, dude.
Yeah, well, and that is, like, he is one of my biggest idols. Like, that is one of the driving forces of me moving into the jungle.
Oh, really?
Is him, like, his passion and love and empathy for animals and nature and humans. Like,
that dude was
for
love,
me,
love.
while maintaining that pure masculine archetype, you know, I think he's the pinnacle for me, you know, in terms of like putting everything you have into what you believe in and standing firm by your beliefs and helping your fellow man and helping your fellow animals and understanding how nature works. You know, like he really did have it all together. And that's why the good die young, because he would have been so close at his age to working out something that no one else had ever worked out, you know.
And you're giving me goosebumps this whole
and
thing.
and the old man or woman upstairs just takes the blade and says, sorry mate, you know, this isn't your time yet, come back again, and maybe next time you can work out what the meaning is. But you know, when you're that immersed in everything that nature is and what it means and what it stands for, while you have those strong morals about, you know, what life is and what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanitarian, you know, he's so close to having all those pieces together about what I believe it is to be human. You know, my hat goes off to him, and the way he raised his boy is so close to the way I raised my boy, you know, like no fear.
His daughter's getting married now, isn't she?
What's that? Sorry?
His daughter's just getting married now, I think.
Yeah. Yep. They're celebrities now, so they're
by crikey, it's the Irwins, yeah.
So I'm probably I don't know, 20 minutes away from there. So
from the zoo?
Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
So I
can't believe we never had this discussion about Steve Irwin before, because
he's been one of my idols since, you know, since I was a kid. Obviously, being Australian, before he blew up in America, he was huge in Australia. He was, you know, and the awareness that he brought to animals and recovery efforts for numbers in the wild, and
back then it wasn't even close to how bad it is now.
There was, you know, and there was no one doing that level of activism back in the early 90s.
Oh, right.
Not with that much influence on the world stage, you know what I mean? Like, he'd click his fingers and things would happen, you know what I mean? Like David Attenborough, he's another bloke who clicks his fingers and says, hey, we need to conserve this, and people start throwing money at it, you know what I mean? It's just and that's what we need. So that's what I want to work towards, is having kids moving down that line of the same way that Steve Irwin taught his son to get out into nature, to learn that things like arithmetic and learning maths and stuff, it's essential because it helps build logic, and, you know, like maths, everything is maths. So they need to learn these things like maths and geometry, but it needs to be fun, and they need to be immersed in nature. And from an early age, they need to understand what their relationship with nature is and what their duty is to nature, what nature does for them and what they should be doing for nature as well. You know, so my son, he sees plants as people. He goes up and kisses them and hugs them. You know, that's how we brought him up. We've brought him up that plants are friends, and, you know, you've got to kiss them and hug them and be gentle, and, you know, and it's just that's the way it should be. You know, when you grow up with that
proverbial tree hugger. I'm talking to a tree hugger right now. I'm just kidding.
You know, man, like
I didn't want to offend you, so don't get offended.
No, I never get offended. I'm not that highly strung. I think no, you know, like I am a bit of a greenie, I guess. You know, like it's important to.
I commend. That's fucking awesome.
If you can teach yourself to have a relationship with trees and really hone into that frequency, like,
is that the ultimate archetype, the tree? Right?
Yeah, well, it's the ultimate grandfather archetype. You know what I mean? It's the ultimate know-it-all archetype. They see it, and they, you know, like I can feel when I'm walking through the forest that, you know, when you go into parts that probably haven't been walked through in 50 years or 100 years, awesome. You can feel the trees. You can feel them absorbing your life force. They're like, you know, you can't see them, but you can feel them like bending towards you to try and suck every single ounce of energy, because in such a long life in the wilderness, there's not much going on. And when something like me walks through the middle, and you can just feel it, you can feel the plants just suck all of your energy.
When you're saying, sorry to cut you off, but when you're saying that, what comes to my head? The Wizard of Oz when they're in the forest, dude.
Yep.
Right away,
Yep.
dude. It just, I mean,
Yep.
it just boof. As soon as you said the tree and that feeling, and as soon as you said those two things, I thought of that right there. Boom. Isn't that
Yep.
crazy?
It is crazy. And it's like the simplest form of empathy. Like, so many people struggle to show empathy, or the right empathy. You know, a lot of people's empathy is misguided. They don't really feel into it. They just do it out of reaction, like a motor response.
Yeah.
You know, but getting a relationship with the tree is like bringing it back to the absolute basics. So the way I see it is, if you can feel the tree and connect with the tree, then why can't you do it with the person? You know what I mean? So, and I think people don't bring it all the way back to having a relationship with the tree before they learn to try and have a relationship with people. And this is why they fail to show things like empathy, and they dissociate, you know? So these are things that will change humanity as a whole. If you're teaching kids these early skills like loving trees, and that trees and humans are no different from each other, you know, regardless of the complexities that they perceive as they grow up about humans, they're going to understand the base knowing about what empathy is, and what the role in humanity is, and the role in nature is. So we're not going to have these same societal complexes, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest poison I find is perception, ideology, you know, teaching these kids that this is the way that we should be seen, this is the way, this is what's popular, this is this, you know. I'd like to see all that eradicated, you know, that popular culture. I would like to see culture cancelled, and I'd like to see natural cultures rise up from the earth. That's what I like to see. And I think if you delete, you know, if you delete all of these manifestations and programs that we're programmed into at such a young age, you know, especially between the ages of 6 and 8, in that age where we really start to develop the psyche, if you're really targeting that time for psyche development, you know, and tuning the psyche to be moving into the right direction in terms of growth, you know, you're going to see that expand on a level throughout humanity. And that's how you're going to see the change. You know, comes from within. And I think, like, when you change yourself and you get better, the people around you see that, and you lead by example when they change, and it does the same. And that's the only way that it works. So I feel like, you know, like for me, giving to charities, I give to a couple of charities, but charity isn't really something that I believe in, because I know at what level the help actually needs to be done.
Your money, and it's not going to where you want it to go to.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's more the mechanics of, like, change starts at home. No one throwing money at you is gonna change anything in the long term. You know, it might change things in the short term. You know, it's like you give a man from a tribe a hut, and he will love life for 6 months, but he doesn't have the skills to maintain that hut. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know, you give a man a well,
a fish, you feed him for a day, you give him a fishing pole, he can feed himself for life.
You know, and that's why I don't give to charities. You know, I give to people. You know, I give to people that I have relationships with. I give them gifts, because then I get to see exactly what the fruits of the gift are. You know, because everybody says that you should give gifts, and, you know, you should do it thoughtlessly and just give away. But I think there's a real thoughtfulness about gifts, and how you send the energy and how you're receiving the energy, because regardless of what your beliefs are, when you give, you do receive. So if that's the case, you should be focusing on how you receive as well, to make sure that everybody's happy. Because just because you believe that you don't receive doesn't mean that you're not going to receive, if you follow me.
Mm-hmm. But when you started this answer out, I think I asked you, so how would you change the world? And
so that's how you do it.
You got to change your own world in order to change the outside world, right?
Yep, and that's why it starts with school, and teaching the kids how to change their world, what their role is, how to change their role, how to change the world, how to better themselves. And then I think from there you start a new culture. And then I think if you if you mix that with a change of the way that we do medicine and the way that we look at healing ourselves, and for
Aaron,
me,
do
I
you think it's
think,
actually possible to have a world that is utopian and good for all and 1,000 years of peace or whatever the hell? Do you think it's possible?
of course, because I believe that there's infinite possibilities, so of course that's a possibility.
All right. Do you think
God
it?
is limitless, so of course that's a possibility. Is it a hard place to get to from here? Absolutely. Do I think we can get to it from this point? No, but I do think we can get to it from another point at some point in time. And based on what we know about suppressed history, there's a good chance that we've been there before. So who's to say that we can't get there again? The way that the world is right now, it's easy to have a cynical approach about the possibilities, but for me, why not?
Well, you kind of have to when you have children and you have a stake as such as we do, and maybe that is the karma that will keep us here. But you know what I mean? Because we've made connections that are beyond our control because we're going to always take care of that. Right?
Yep.
You now know what that means. I mean, when you get a kid involved, then it's just your nature.
Yeah, it changes everything,
doesn't it?
It changes absolutely. And that's another thing that is so important to our development is family. I don't think so much the family we come from, but the family that we create is the most important part, and this is how we change at home. When you create a family that's going to go out and do good in the world gets better. And I think that message gets lost a lot. Maybe it was pretty prevalent back in the days when we had elders, but we don't have elders anymore to teach us. So
no, we throw them in nursing homes and send COVID patients to them with them.
Yep. And you see that's another mechanism of changing the schooling system. Is 60 years down the track, when those kids grow up and they're elders of the community, they're elders again. They understand the laws of nature. They understand everything about what their environment
the elders
entails.
held the information for the whole generation and what transpired and the wisdom thereof.
Yep. And then I think we get to a point eventually, if that's successful, where we can eliminate schools altogether because the elders do the job that the schools are supposed to do.
You know what the elders are now? Google.
Yeah. Yep.
Google. And what happens when you Google something? You get sidetracked on a bunch of fucking nonsense that you don't even want to read about.
Of course. Because and that's the perfect example of why the universe is telling you Google's not the place that you should be looking. It's just not.
Back when it started getting bigger, I said Google's the new god, man.
And it is. And look at it now. And who knows what layers of reality Google and AI have.
No shit, dude.
That we can't perceive, man. Like, I think about that stuff at night. Sometimes it keeps me up thinking about what layers of reality there.
That steering wheel is so big that they ain't even got to pull any, no force at all. They just got to go like this, just to get it, just to move. Like, woo.
Yep.
I mean, it's just got to be.
And it reminds me of the Baba Chakra.
Yeah.
The AI system. It's just got everything on a wheel. The wheel's turning. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
You just got to hop on for the ride and.
Or just try to get to the center of that wheel and watch that wheel go around you.
Yeah. Yep. Sit on the peg. Well, that's the plan, isn't it? That's where you want to be.
In the eye of the hurricane.
Yep. And I think it's like there's so many different layers of reality that are all different Baba Chakras. There's Baba Chakras within Baba Chakras within Baba Chakras.
It proves the old adage: the more you know, the less you do.
Yep. Absolutely. And the more you know, the less you care.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I've found.
The less you try to find it after that, it's like, okay, so I've come to that knowing, so now what? I've come to that knowing, so now what? It's like all the rabbit holes. Okay, so, I'm at the end of this one, now what? You're always left with that empty now what? And that now what is find your fucking self, dummy.
And that whole thing comes from not having a good connection with spirit. When you have a good connection with spirit, you get so far down the line and you go, "Oh, okay, I know the rest now. I don't need to look at the rest. You know, there's a part of me that knows that this is true from here on out."
Yeah.
And you know, that's the key to not going nuts, isn't it? And not getting
Yeah, a lot of
distracted
people
is
need a lot
understanding.
more epiphanies popping up in their face and numbers. And your number was, do you still see your number?
I still work with numbers every single day. So 23 is always the ultimate. But I've basically in the last 13 months, I've used every single number that there is.
How many damn lottery tickets are you buying? No, I'm just kidding.
well, last week I entered 3 different contests
Mhm.
and I won all 3. So
Really?
yeah, yep,
Awesome,
absolutely. So I'm not pushing it at the moment. You have to be in that frequency. You have to be
dude,
in
I
that
got
right.
a buddy that recently he's gone to the casino. He's won like $3,000. He bought a scratch off. He won $1,500. He went
Yep.
and bought a pull tab while we were bowling. Won $500. I mean, and he's not spiritual at all. He's not into this frequency
You
thing.
just get into that vibration. You get into that right place, and it just comes. And you get confident. You have that first win, and you get confident, and you make sure you stay in that frequency, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming. So the reason why I haven't bought any this week is because I've been feeling a little bit flat this week in comparison to the last few weeks, you know, just in my natural cycle, because that's another thing that I've been working on. I do believe that men have monthly cycles as well as women. And I've been trying to get a gauge of how that works so I can
You know what
recognize myself.
Maha Harashi is? Harashi? It's called it's every the night before the new moon every month. That's when the tail of the moon, I think, runs across Earth, and we get negative ions or something flood us, and it brings us closer to self-realization through our pineal gland or our third eye. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't heard of it, but I mean the theory is interesting. It makes a little bit of sense. I know how negative ions work, and when you get saturated with negative ions, what the electrical charges and how that changes. So, I mean, maybe
it's said, and this is how Sadhguru, you know who Sadhguru is, right?
Yep, I know who Sadhguru is. Yep.
He explained it. It was this last March 11th. It was for recent for their yearly one, how they celebrate it. But he articulated it so eloquently as it was like, you know how a plant, when the sun shines on it, it grows towards the light.
Yep.
Well, human beings are the only bipedal creatures in the animal kingdom. So we're the tallest. We're the ones with our crown chakra closest to the sun, right, or the light. So we are gonna receive it and you're supposed to stay up all night on that night, the night before the new moon. But
interesting.
It was pretty cool, dude.
See, there's a lot of cool things like that I've heard over the years that you can use astrological, especially moon alignments, to change like this. Well, to take advantage of like the circadian rhythm.
You froze up. He froze up. He moved his phone and he froze. What's up? What's up with that, Aaron? Who's all here? What's up, Max? Everything everywhere is negatively charged inside and positively charged outside. Giraffe says, "Fuck you, humans." That's Aaron. If you're still there, I'll hang out for a second. I'm gonna read some comments here. What's up, Miss Space Cake? Michelle Can-Am Free, Mike from Florida. I would rather buy. Oh, he's out. Something happened. I think he'll come back. But yeah, sorry I haven't looked at chat. I was just enthralled with talking to him. I mean, I haven't talked to Aaron in a while. Those who are familiar with my channel. Steve, you know me face to face, and I subbed you when you had 30 subs. The drone days. Yeah, I know you, Cindy. I love you, Cindy. The key is knowledge, my brothers. As usual, with all good truth channels, half the viewers are interested subs, and the other half are cops, agents, spy bots. What, Wobbly Boost? What are you talking about? I'll consider that you think I somehow hacked your account, which I didn't. What are you talking about, tripping? What are you talking about? What's up, Lucky Stone? You manifest what you are aligned with. What's up, Menza? Cindy, what are you talking about, sweetheart? Oh, need a wrench? Why? What's going on, guys? Giraffe says, fuck you, humans. Our essence came from the absolute and manifested itself in creation. He's back. Potato head sounds dirty to me. What's up? Hello? You gotta unmute yourself again, bud.
Sorry about that, bro. My phone overheated, went a bit crazy. It's pretty hot here today, as normal. So just a cool 100 degrees. So
on that part of the island, do you or continent? I guess I gotta call it. On that part of Australia, is there a winter at all there?
Yeah. So there's a wet season and there's a cool season, but there's no winter. So because they're in the tropics. So the wet season's in the summertime when it's stinking hot. So usually, it's pretty similar to what you'd find in southern Mexico or in some of those northern South American countries. So it's pretty similar climate, 100% humidity, 100 degrees Fahrenheit every day. That's basically how it is. But no winter, no summer, just a difference in rainfall really, and a difference in cloud cover. But it's anywhere between. It wouldn't get any lower than probably 80 to 85 degrees where I live.
Hey, you're talking.
So it's perfect all year round.
You're talking Fahrenheit, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
About 30 degrees Celsius.
Huh?
It's about 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. Have you, for some reason, when you were talking about that, I had Mars come in my head. Have you watched any of that, their newest photos and stuff?
No, I haven't. I totally am off the internet and
all forms
of news. Yeah, so I've been off for ages. So
how was it that we came across recently? What were you came on and I was on, or what?
Yeah. I just checked. I actually got a notification on my phone when you were online, and that's what made me check in. But I'm not active on anything on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, or anything. I'm totally about getting my information from myself and from nature. It's just when COVID hit, and I, because obviously I know a fair bit about psychology, and I saw all the mind control that was coming out of the media. I just thought to myself, I've got to step away from this, otherwise, I'm going to get pulled into the herd. And so I just pretty much switched it all off. So I use my phone for business, but other than that, I don't know anything that's going on in the world at all, and I love it.
Wobbly Boost says, tell as chemist, I said good day from Cairns, Australia.
Oh, yep, just up the road.
Nice.
Just up the road. So
nice. We got Mike in Florida in the house. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm at the point of where I think. Okay, I want to ask you this before I state what I think it is.
Yep.
Do you think there is an ultimate purpose beyond our family or physical relationship with each other? Do you think there's an ultimate purpose for human beings to be where we're at, or our true purpose in life? Do you think there's something beyond just the physical, something that maybe enables the system to continue? I mean, do you think in them kind of terms, or do you have an opinion on
I I I don't know. It's so hard. You know, my mind changes all the time about that. But I think that there isn't really any ultimate goal. I don't think. I think everything is a fragment, and I suppose there is an ultimate goal in some potentiality. But I think in terms of the small part of the spectrum of the grand plan that we experience in this frequency and in this dimension, you know, I think because everything is the spirit, right? So spirit is God, and we all have spirit, and we all have soul, you know, and I don't think that anything can change the spirit aspects. You know, I think that the spirit and the God is what it is. It can't be changed. It's immutable. It's ineffable. And I think the soul can be mutable. And I think, if anything, it's maybe making sure that the grand plan is to make sure that we always keep our connection with spirit through the soul. And obviously there's also the concept of an oversoul as well, where you have like a collective consciousness, which is a soul, which is a grand soul for the population of people as well. So maybe there's something to do with that. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing more simple than just trying to be better every day and trying to work out what you're about, where you're going, what you're doing, what things mean when you encounter them. You know, I think that it's that simple. I don't think there's anything more grand than that. You know, and I know we'd like to make it a big fairy tale because there's a creator, and we've been programmed with the fact that there's this grand plan, and you know, you have all the programming of what heaven is, and that there's more. But I really just think that it's all like a computer. It's a feedback loop. You know, spirit sends soul out for an experience. Soul has that experience, transverses back to soul. Spirit reboots that soul into another level of experience. You know, I think that the spirit is the fraction of God that likes to experience itself, and it's like the senior in command when it comes to God. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like the Pistis Sophia.
Yep, like pretty much that's it. And I think it's that simple, that the spirit is always trying to experience and gain new perspective, and the soul is the tool that it uses. And I think it's as simple as that. It's just a game. It's just a game that the spirit plays to have experience, to grow. It's a part of, you know, the mechanism of expansiveness and infiniteness. You know, of course, it's going to keep rebooting and retrying. I think on some lower levels, there are some tasks that we should be looking towards, you know, as far as like a humanity collective sort of level. But is it a grand plan, or is just what we experience supposed to be like this for the experience? You know, I think it is. I don't think it's as complex as what it's made out to be. I think it's pretty easy.
I agree with that. But I think there's some validity in the fact of, I don't know, I just can't get over the whole light aspect and where that light comes from. And I think that is the role we play in the whole cosmic garden of everything is, you know, and I know it sounds a bit, I don't know, a bit, I don't know, what would you call it? Naive, or not naive, but just overreaching, and, you know, like, I'm vain, a very vain thing to say that we are the pinnacle of God's creation, which is God itself, you know, and I'm not calling myself God, but, you know, in the end, we are one with each other through God, you know, or the smart grid or energy, whatever you want to call it, source. But I think that is the thing that encompasses everything. God is ineffable, like you just said, but us being time, a linear time thought, creates the light that creates us, and that's the loop, like you just said. I think that the technical
Yep.
way of explaining it. I
Yeah.
think.
Yep. And I think that's the whole idea behind the macro and the micro of the torus field and the self-replication and fractals.
Yeah.
It all just loops back on itself and recreates, and
That's what makes nature just nature, and what it is what it is.
And I think that nothing ever changes. Everything stays the same. It's just that everything's in cycles and expresses itself differently dependent on time, or, as you like to say, the people who are in that experience at that moment, because without people, there's no time. So
Time changes not, but all things change in time.
Yep. And I think that the people, that humans are the tool of God to help make sure that every single cycle that manifests itself differently, so the experience can keep growing. That's all I think.
We're the crapshoot. Yeah, we're the perturbation, or the differing, the thing that sets the bookies on their head, because they can't figure out which way they're gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the paradox of life. That's the thing that so many people chase their entire lives and never find out, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're after a prize. And that's recently what I've realized is stop trying to gain something from something that already is.
Yeah. And that's something I've learned too, is I've stopped worrying about wasting my times about things that I don't understand. I just allow them to be what they are. And if it comes across my path at some point where I'm lucky enough to learn about what that is and get a deeper experience, and so be it. But I'm not going to go chasing it. You know what I mean? So I'm creating my own reality here. I don't want to chase after anything. I want things to come to me. What I mean?
So, a serious personal question. If a guy wanted to bring his wife and 2 kids to Australia, what kind of nonsense would I have to go through to visit my buddy Aaron there for a couple of weeks?
That's pretty much nothing. You would have to. So it's not compulsory to have any vaccinations or anything to come into Australia. You would simply just hop on a flight, apply for your visa. That would let you in straight away as long as you go through the COVID criteria. You would land. You have to go in a Medi hotel, like you're locked in a hotel for 2 weeks, quarantine hotel. But after that, you are free to move anywhere you like. There is no COVID. So as soon as you go past that point of being tested and you test negative, you're free to spend as much time as you want, go anywhere you want. There's no restrictions on borders, no restrictions. Everything's fully operational here. Like, they're going to welcome you here. We need people over here. Australia's, we're all about tourism here. Without tourism, of course, we have a lot of metal exports.
It's pretty bad right now, right? I mean, it's non-existent.
Yep. So all of the tourist hotspots they're all stuffed. That they're probably 80 to 90% revenue down. Especially Queensland. There's so many Chinese that visit here. So I think Queensland in particular. I think I saw a number of something like 3 to 4 million Chinese visit Queensland, which is the state I'm in, every year. And obviously they're not coming in now. So you think about the revenue from 3 or 4 million wealthy Chinese families. And you're talking, it's devastating to the communities that rely on tourism in Australia, because it's so big. It's so far between towns. There's just nothingness between towns. And if you're isolated out there and all you do is rely on the Great Barrier Reef, for example, which is off the coast for all of your income, there's just nothing. So that they pretty much will let anyone in who has a negative test. Even with a positive test, they'll just keep you in quarantine for an extra week and you'll be free to go.
Just like,
you know what I mean? So it's pretty much a free for all. Things. It's so cheap to fly here. I'm not allowed to fly out as an Australian. We've got a ban from flying internationally unless it's for special reasons. But anyone's allowed in here.
Why is that?
I guess they don't. I guess the perception of the government is that we've got it so well under control here that they don't want people coming in and out of the country and increasing the chance of, you know.
Don't you have a bunch of people just up in arms flipping out about that because of the money aspect?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got lots of protests and stuff going on here at the moment. Same as everywhere. Everywhere's got protests going on. Everyone's flipping out about everything to do with COVID. So, because, you know, a lot of the lockdowns that happen in Australia, like Melbourne, for example, was the first place to lock down the world, do a full lockdown. And that was pretty draconian. That was pretty dark. And, you know, like it was super, super, super hard on all my friends that live in Melbourne. You know, they had some sort of mental effects from being locked down hard. Like they weren't allowed to leave their houses at all.
Really?
At all. So
Max Egan wasn't off of his rocker when he was talking about it.
No, in Melbourne, that was the case. All other states in Australia have been fine. They've had like little rolling lockdowns at the start, but Victoria was full bore draconian lockdowns, and that has pissed off a few Australians. They're not going to put up with it. So, you know, we're just not going to put up with it here. I think that's got a lot to do with, you know, if you believe that there's a narrative that comes along with the COVID, you know, that the way that I suppose we rose up, we don't have guns here. We had all our guns taken away. So, you know, people are pretty quick to. That
happened back in with the Christchurch and all that stuff, or was it before that?
No, before that, there was a massacre in Tasmania. A guy killed 30 odd people with a semi-automatic, and that was in the 90s. And they banned all semi-automatic and automatic guns. So now we're only allowed to have rifles and pistols. So yeah, no high-powered weaponry.
Well, you guys are lucky you got that, because didn't that island start out as a place of exile or a
penal colony? Yeah, it did. So pretty much everyone that immigrated to Australia in the 1700s are all convicts here. So
that's funny.
and there is that mentality, like outside of the cities. You know, like the people outside of the cities, I noticed the people inside the cities are fairly subdued, you know, because I came from a big city. They kind of just play along with it. But the people outside the cities, they do not put up with, I suppose it's probably similar. It's probably archetypal. It's probably similar in America like that too, where you got people in the cities are all subdued. Not anymore.
Yeah, there's farmers and hillbillies, but I mean, it's not like Mad Max style, you know, in your face.
Yeah. So, and well, we're not that far from Mad Max, are we?
No.
We're not that far. But like I said, lucky here, we haven't had to deal with anything. You know, they had that harsh lockdown in Melbourne, and the people responded to that pretty harshly. And I think it put the government in check as to where they were going to go and how far they could push it. And
around it's around here. It's the whole, you know, I'm living like a couple miles away from where that George Floyd thing happened, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that's been now they're dealing with the trial, and you go downtown in Minneapolis and it looks like a freaking concentration camp. I mean, razor wire everywhere, dude. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, what that does to people's psyche right there in and of itself is just.
Yeah. And what's it doing to the kids?
Yes.
You know, the kids that are growing up and seeing, because it's all, like in my eyes, it's all retarded. All these narratives and all these things that happen and make it into mainstream news, and the way that people respond to it, and the entire thing, it's just all back to front, retarded wish-wash. Yeah, you know, and these kids are growing up with perceptions of reality that are absolutely flip-flop, back to front, inside out, you know.
Unless they got somebody in their ear just pounding home that, you know, don't pay attention to this shit. You're not watching this shit in my house. You can play your video games, but you're not watching the fucking news.
Yeah. So there is no news in my house at all. No, it's not allowed. No external media source. I don't care if the world's burning down. Well, you know.
As soon as you said that burning down, remember when everybody was saying the fires in Australia and the whole world was up? And remember that?
Yeah.
What were you saying when I told you that? What did you say to me?
I don't remember.
You said fucking Australia burns every year, man. People don't
fucking. It does. It burns all the fucking time because it's so hot here. You know, it's just, you know, we might have 20 inches of rain every day for a month, but then it'll be 110 degrees and 0% humidity for 3 months, and then it just burns. Everything goes to crisp and it burns. You know, it's like, it's all the same as all these narratives like climate change and all these kinds of things. You know, it's all sensationalized. You know, I believe that we should definitely be doing something for the planet, but I don't think that the whole climate change scenario is the right way to go about it at all. And it's just, and it's like all this stuff with racism and stuff at the moment, you know, like us as Australians, we're pretty abrasive and like we are known to be, I would say racist, right? As far as we don't hold bars, you know, against people of race or creed or religion. If someone's Asian, we'll call them Asian. If they're black, we'll call them black, you know, or call them white, or call them whatever. It doesn't matter, you know. And you know, like I've got a friend whose nickname is Blackie, and he loves it, right? He's Mauritian, and he's, you know, he's dark skinned. He loves it. That's just an Australian nickname, and that's a term of endearment towards him, a term of respect. You know, he's, you know, he loves that name. In America, that would be, imagine how mortified people would be if they heard that, you know. And in Australia, we might have racist comments and funny slang, but as I've never grown up with racism, I never grew up with a point of view that someone was different or even prejudice, you know, religion.
The only thing that distinguishes that, brother, or even here, is just the media. Because I don't see the world through that sort of color vision, and I can prove it because, you know, I have 3 black friends, you know, and you say that, and I was being funny, I was trying to be funny, but I bowl with these 3 black guys, right? Yeah, and they're always at me about being white and all this shit, you know.
Yeah. You know,
and I don't give a fuck, because whatever.
No, that's right.
I haven't put up with slavery and all that other bullshit, but you know, I took my fucking resin bag and I threw it at the back of his ass, and I said, "Now you look like a big fucking black chalkboard. Now shut the fuck up." You know? Yeah,
and you see, like in Australia, that's welcome. Like if someone talks to you like that, it means that they respect you, you know, and they love you. And they're not trying to hurt your feelings.
That's the way I see it too, and people don't see it.
And you know, and that's, I suppose that's translated all across the world. That's bloke love. That's what blokes do to each other. It doesn't matter what you are. Right. Someone's gonna hang shit on you. You know, someone's gonna
hang shit on you just because you're a different color skin, just because they love you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because you've got googly eyes or a big nose, or you got a freckle on your chin. You know what I mean? Like it's just. And it's been expounded so much into this ridiculous idea.
It's not the people, though, per se. It's the sensationalism of the clickbaitish, look at this newscast, or you know, and I don't, people to want to say that it's the news media moguls that are behind it all. Well, maybe they are, because they get their money from that source, but I think it's just a human error that we are attracted to unboxing shit and you know, the sensational.
That stupid hive mind mentality, like these people that are parroting, saying, "Oh, this is an outrage." You know, they watch 4 hours of the news every day. You know, they eat junk food. You know, they're on medication. They live a poor life. You know what I mean? All they're doing is they're in automatic mode. No. They're just in automatic mode, and they're just parroting whatever the news says, just in the same way just
so they can fit in.
Toddler, in the same way a toddler parrots their parent. You know, they do it unconsciously. You know, it's that makes sense. We've got all this outrage about all this stuff. Like, I don't think it exists. I think it's been manifested into reality.
It's a consequence of our own ignorance, is what I think it is. And
absolutely.
We've got in every aspect by our own ignorance, man.
Yeah. You know, and these are things that I personally don't care about.
Neither do I.
Right?
Neither do I.
I don't care about it. I know that some people are victims of, you know, different things to do with their race or creed or whatever. But, you know, that's that person's experience. to
Right.
deal with, and that's part of their life path, and them learning to navigate those intricacies of their personality and other people's personality is what life's about, right? So
Right.
I don't really care. I don't want to
Well,
hear from the news that that's
recently
what's
in
happening.
America, there's been a shooting in something where this guy killed a bunch of Asian people. Well, they were Asian ladies that worked in a brothel or something, you know, in a place where you go and get service, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
And they were of Asian descent, and the guy had it in for women because of his sex addiction. Well, our president goes up on the podium and starts saying it's Asian violence. Yeah, dude.
You know, it comes, and the poison comes from the top. It always
Dude, it's like,
does.
what
It's
the
just,
really?
you know, and like who believes these days that politics is anything that we should be living our lives by? Like this whole man's law, politics, government. The
Anybody that
older
gets
I
paid to
get,
lead shouldn't be the leader, dude.
yep.
The one who should be leading is the one that doesn't want to lead the most.
Yep. That is exactly right. You know, and that it's just such a silly, messed up system, and I would love to see it all abolish, the whole lot. I would love to see it all go. It won't go, but
There's too much at stake as far as the money, and you know, have
yep,
you heard of the ivermectin word? Have you heard of that?
yep, yeah, yep,
Ain't that incredible, dude?
yeah,
How they're suppressing that?
yep,
It's
yep,
incredible. I mean, I'm living on in a microcosm of it because my wife, she's a nurse. She's gotten
yep,
vaccinated, and she's believing in the whole vaccination thing. And I'm like, it's not even a vaccination. You do
yeah,
not,
yeah,
you know. And I won't even get into that because I think you know where I'm going with that. But it's like,
yeah, and it doesn't, you know, it really doesn't need to be said either,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
feel like, unless you're directly impacted, like obviously
right.
someone who's
And
in the
that's exactly what I was
healthcare
getting at. Yeah,
area is absolutely going to be concerned about getting COVID. They're going to be making sure that they mitigate all the risk in their lives.
right,
And
right,
of course, they're going to be for a vaccine.
right.
For someone like me, I've got a great immune system. I'm in tune with my body. I've got plenty of alternative therapies at my disposal. I mean, I've got 20 odd alternative therapy
Right, but
devices in my
I was
house.
referencing the ivermectin thing where it's a cure for it. I mean,
Yeah,
you do not
and
get it.
that's one, you know, that's just one thing that shows you that
Yeah,
the vaccine is not the way to go. You know, the way to go is to mitigate risk, or, you know, and
well,
like ivermectin, why get vaccinated if you can get your hands on a cheap, reliable?
I went to Fleet Farm and bought 16 doses of horse paste that I could take
Yep.
over a 2-year period and never have to worry about it. And it's the only thing that I've heard that actually fixes it after you get it.
Yep. So
Get rid of
like
it.
there's so many things that work. Like, so we're into a lot of alternative therapies. You've got tuning forks have been known to
Yeah, you're
help.
getting into that recently.
So
We've
we've got tuning forks, we've got red light therapy, we've got everything, rife therapy. Like, we've got so many things at our disposal, you know. And this is the way that people should be treated. We're not worried about it because we've got every single thing under the sun to battle it. We've got strong immune systems. Neither of us work in a place where we're at risk.
Well,
Who
and you're in
cares?
the
You know?
sunniest damn place on the planet,
Yeah.
and
That's why you need
our
to
immunity
get
comes
over here.
from, right?
That's why you need to get over here with the family and
Oh, yeah, dude.
and find out what it's all about, because
You know,
especially,
maybe we'll use our stimulus money to come over there.
yeah, well, flights would probably be about 500 to 600 return at the moment per person. So
So what do you mean, 500 to get there and 500 to get back?
no, 500 return,
What does that mean?
meaning for there and back $500.
Oh, wow, that's
Because
sweet, dude.
the airlines are only bringing mail over, man. So they need people in the seats to make it viable for them to fly over from the US.
Wow.
It's dirt cheap. Like,
It used
for
to be like
example,
$2,000 or $2,200 a piece, right?
Yeah, about 2,200 a piece. Last time I went to the US, it was just over $2,000 a piece. So yeah, it's just it's dirt cheap. You know, of course, price of living here is pretty expensive, but when you're living in the jungle and you've got mangoes on the side of the road that you can go pick, and avocados, and grapes and apples and apricots and bananas and sugarcane, it doesn't cost you a thing. It doesn't cost you a thing to live because you've got nature at your fingertips. That's why it's a totally different world over here. I've been to the US and I was blown away with how clinical and how concrete everything is, and how everything's so organized and disorganized. But in Australia, we just really don't care about anything.
Dude, I'm gonna really get on the wife and start talking her into it, man. Because I really
for sure. We've got a place that you can stay for free, and that it goes out to anyone following the channel. If you want to come for a holiday, hit me up, because anybody's welcome. Got a nice big portion of land, plenty of housing. Get into it.
That'd be sweet, dude.
Man, there's plenty of good things to do. Plenty of good fishing, plenty of good hunting. So that's another thing that I'm getting into, is hunting. I was against hunting at one point for a little while there, as I was working out what my morals were, but now I'm really loving it. I'm loving the whole experience.
You want to get some food?
Yeah, exactly. So, right. And that's what it's come to now. This is
that's
it makes it okay when you've got to survive.
Right.
So, and that's what I've learned with this hero's journey, and being held out, without a job to.
That's why I take out my butter knife every time I go to have a hamburger, and I pretend like I'm hunting it down, and I start stabbing it.
Nothing better than a wild catch on the plate, man. Nothing better. Nothing better.
Hey, Aaron, man, thank you for joining me. I love talking to you, man. And
it's my pleasure, man. It's great to talk to you. It's been too long.
Yes, it has. And you know what? You're a breath of fresh air, and people love your accent. People were commenting earlier when my phone didn't die about how they loved your accent and everything. And you know what? You're doing great. Give the wife a big hug, and that little rascal of yours a big hug for me, man, because I'm jelly, man. You got the whole thing going on. I want on, but you know what? I got what I need here too, and you know what? I love
it. That's it, man. And you've already manifested what I'm trying. You're a few years in front of me, so you've already manifested what I'm trying to manifest for myself right now.
I think I'm like 20 years in front of you.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 38 this year, so
10 years I'm ahead of you.
Yeah. So, and it all worked out. I always said I'd be retired by the time I was 40, and the old fella upstairs gave me a early ticket and said, "No, when you're 37, this is it for you, mate. It's the end of the road." So,
man, I wish I could say that shit. I still got to go out and hustle.
Yeah, but you can.
That's part of my the hero's journey too, though. Is I feel like I've already retired, but because working on your own terms is pretty much retirement. Because we all always need someone.
Yeah, correct.
And 90 hour a week gig that I have to go to.
Yeah. And anyone can do it though. You only need to work 5 hours a week to pay the bills.
Right. That's awesome.
That's how long I work every week to pay the bills. And I'm not a mad scientist. I just learn how nature works and try and turn it to my advantage, get in the right frequency and let all the things roll in, my man. So it can be anyone's,
You're awesome, brother. It's getting late here.
Thanks,
I'm starting to yawn, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's late.
What time is it there?
It's 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's like 2 here now, I think. 1. Yeah. All right. Hey, good talk, brother. And yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try to talk to the old lady, or my wife. I guess I shouldn't call her my old lady, but I'm gonna talk to the wife. And
well, it's always open, man. That invitation's always open. I've always said it, and my sentiments haven't changed. Always welcome, man.
a couple months ago, I was thinking, I wonder where the hell Aaron is. And, you know, I think I tried getting a hold of you on Messenger and shit. And then all of a sudden, out of blue, you made a comment. I'm like, oh, there he is. It was just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do, man. I move into the darkness and move back out. That's my game. That's who I am.
Well, keep bobbing and weaving, ebbing and flowing, brother, because you know what? Your knowing is knowing, and it is sure is growing. I love you, brother.
Thanks, brother. Same to you.